I'm really grateful to God that I could look at these kids and I'll just thank God that they are non-autistic. Actually, I wrote a book, Defeating Autism. I just wanted to tell parents that it's all about your mindset. It's all about what you see in your child. It's all about the words that you speak to your child. That's all that is going to make the child what the God promises. It's all about your choice. I know my kids will say, you're talking about me. Yes, I just want to give glory to God for all the achievement that God had to do through the grace that he gave me in making all of them non-autistic. And when you see them, you will not know that the story that I'm telling is what they went through. Thank God, I'm grateful. So I want to start telling my story. Coming from a family of 9, I'm the 5th. And being the 5th family of 9, my daddy will always look at me and say, this is the most special child that I have. In such a way that even I'm sleeping with my immediate senior, and it's 7 a.m. and I'm still sleeping. He's not going to touch my sister. He will go over to me and tap me and say, everywhere is scattered, you have to clean. So he knew that I'm not going to complain. So getting married and then having my first 2 kids in an environment that nobody knew what was autism, what it was all about. I did not even know what autism was. All I knew that they were not expressing themselves. And I knew that as they were growing, things that other kids could do, they were not really doing it. And in my mind, I was just like, what am I going to do? But I knew the power of prayer because, I was raised up in with a family of prayer. Even when you're going for exams, my daddy will sit you down and then he will just pray. My mom, everything, even something that she's supposed to advise, you should just pray. So I just said, there's nobody that could really help me. So I was always just praying. And from there, my husband, that's just what we're doing. And we're always just with them. When they say they can't do this in the school, when they come back, we try to see how we can, organize it and how they can be able to learn it. For them, we now knew the basics. From there, and we give glory to God by the time my first child was 8 and my second child was 6, they were out of it. And then I had my last kid, 2. And he was doing so well in such a way that they promoted him, from kindergarten, from playgroup 2 to kindergarten. I said that he already knew everything. I was happy. But suddenly at 2, 3, it was like a shift, and I'll just be wondering, am I going to go all over again? And I was way back where there was no knowledge of autism. So by the time I moved to Lagos, by then my husband has gone to UK to get a second master degree. So I was all alone. It wasn't easy in Lagos. I know at that time, for my first 2 kids, for 2 terms, there was nothing I could talk about for them to go to school. So I had to let's be doing. I had to say, it should be my 3rd child that will be in the school, so that because it could be a little bit stressful. So I got to know a lady that they introduced me to because I was all over the place. I said, who could take this child? Because he was very hyperactive, and that time he was 4. There's nothing you could sit him down for him to be able, and he could express himself. So most of the time, the brothers will be helping me because since I didn't have any house help, and I wasn't really willing because I was who could even really help my child the way I could do? So by the time I put him in that school, and then the person was a professional therapist, and she was telling me all about autism, and I was enlightened. When I went home, I made a research on Google, so I was oh, okay. And to show you that parenting is all about your mindset, about your child. I saw the negative part of autism, and I saw the positive side of autism. Seeing the negative, I did not even look at that. Also, I said, oh, wow. So I was just looking at the positive side, that they can be brainy, they can pay attention to details. That was what all downloaded in me. And suddenly, by the time I could afford to, I saw the rest of my kids, they all went to that school because it's a regular school. So I was surprised. The lady that told me that she knows everything about autism, and she called me one day and I said that I have to take this child to Yaba Psychiatric Hospital, that they need to give him injections so that he could keep quiet. And I was like, wow, is that how you did your own training? I said, I've never. I said, are you seeing those 2 kids they're not autistic. They went through it, but it's not as heavy as I'm having with my last kid. I said, so how will you tell me to make a child that is naturally hyperactive, then so that when he comes to your school, he'll just sit quiet? And then, because that I knew it's going to cause a lot of brain damage. All the thing the person will just be, quiet, but there's going to be, the brain is going to keep getting dull, and you keep medicating. And I told her bluntly that I was not going to go there. So I was surprised, it was like getting to second day. 2 weeks before the school was closing, everybody was going to school. And then suddenly I just heard that she just told me that he's not supposed to be coming to school. To cut the the story short, and I was surprised one day I was in the bank and I just heard that she just put my boy in the school bus. I go for the school runs, going and coming back. And he told the bus driver, just ask for the address for my 2 boys. And they told him where the address is. And they just bundled him home, like in the middle of. And I was in the bank, and my sister called me. I said, my son is in school. Like the woman said, he doesn't want him to come to the school anymore. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, what could I do? So at that time, I was emotionally balanced. I'm somebody that will not, go into trying to make trouble with her. So all I did and I took my first 2 kids, and I knew that was the last time they were going to be in that school. So things started manifesting, and this child started growing, and I was putting, God helped me, and then my husband, we always be creating our own way of giving him the way to learn. I know they'll do their own in the school, and then when he comes back, we all devise a way of how he's going to do his own learning, and with time, and then I could say that the most important thing about having a child like that is your mindset, is your belief in God, is the words, the promises that God has given you. How do you fight for it? Because most of the time, God gave us these promises. That it's not just for us to just relax and be looking at it. Most of the promises God gave to us, He wants us to fight for it. How was I fighting for it? When he's sleeping, especially at midnight hours, I will lay hands on him. I was doing it consistently, and I will be speaking. And by the time he's growing, I knew that the words were forming, and it was growing. This is a child, and when he now entered JS1, and suddenly, for that first term, and I was surprised. I mean, nobody knew him as having any challenges, and he was got the result, and I was just in all A's. And I said, how did you get it? And he said, well, I just read, and I remember everything. It was all as a mindset. I just want to tell parents out there that, autism, you should not, people will say that you can manage it. Because I keep wondering if people can fight for cancer and they get healed, if people can fight for other kind of disease and they get healed. So I believed strongly that autism, that you can be healed totally from it. And this is a child, that right now in his school, he's the assistant head boy. He did his manifesto, was it last month? He traveled to the United States of America, and he got an award from the ambassador to Nigeria in the United States. And when they called me, and the organizers that took them there, they were like, that the ambassador just threw questions, to all the students that were, and he answered correctly, and they called him and gave him an award. And I was not there but all at the long run, I'm just trying to say that, when you see such a child, it's not about, like people say, it's not about manner or what you read. It's about how you care. It's about your mindset. It's about having knowing that child is a gift. Yes, God has said that children are a gift to us, and they're a reward. So how do you take that kid as? Are you taking it as an assembly kit? Are you taking it as an assembled kit? I took my kids like an assembling kit. So, one day at a time, I was getting my instructions from God. My husband was doing a lot, and I just want to encourage parents there, even for the mother, for the father, that when you have such kids, one, you just have to be very patient. You have to be humble, because sometimes when I counsel parents and I said, you have to do this, say, how will I be able to do this thing? I said, no. The first thing that you have to know is that it's not about what they're doing in the school, it's what you're doing in the home. I said, if you're a prim and proper parent, you can't be able to handle this kid. I have slept on rumpled bed. I have mashed, placed on the floor, scrumbling, so that I can have my time and do what I can do for my kids. You have to be stress-free when you're handling this kind of children. And I tell you, if you can delegate work, you delegate it and make sure that, you are involved with people that care. It's not about people that know all about autism. When they know about it, just ask God to help them and also to help you. And I believe that, from my story, because I remember when a lady, that lady is even a pastor's wife. That's way back where I was staying, not in Lagos. And I wonder, there was a time my son threw tantrums, I think when he was 3, because I was about going and before I go out, I normally just describe to him, say all the demonstration, please, this, that, I'm going on. And then he would just nod. And then that time I was in a hurry and I was just driving this lady. I wanted to take her out somewhere as my pastor's wife, like trying to serve her in one other. And this boy just rushed out and, hit his head. Blood was gushing out. All he was trying to explain to me is that I did not tell him that I'm going out, that maybe there's something that is wrong with him. And I was surprised, that lady by my side, like what she could alter her word, because she's been looking for kids for almost 13 years. She said, if looking for a kid is this one, God, don't give me this kind of a kid, So, and when I hear such things, I tell people, it's not about how you feel, it's about what you use your feelings, to produce. So when I see people say things about my children, or when they say something, and in my heart, I'll say, you're going to see what this boy will become. Today, when I look at this boy, I mean, he just wants to do a lot of things. He's the one that is coaching his classmates on physics, on chemistry, on further maths. Even when he traveled out, because they had to do their exams, because they went on an excursion, not all the students went. And then when he was there, he was like, everybody is just asking him that he could have been around for the exams to teach them further. And I was like, are you the one that helps them with the physics and further? And he said, yes. So I want to tell parents that, parenting this kind of a kids is all about you, having, the Spirit of God to work in you. You have to be humble. I don't even know how to wear this high heel. I don't before, because I know he's running around. So I'm always on slippers or just on sneakers. And then when my friends look at me, they'll be like, there's no makeup on your face. I said, what am I making up for? So, I mean, it's a journey of 16 years, after one another. And I can be very grateful that, that God helped me, God helped my husband, even in the midst of the tantrums, when he's throwing that tantrum, I keep blessing him. I want to tell somebody out there that prayers works, blessing works. That is the two things that we're always showering on them, and nobody can see them and say that these children, they're autistic. The what prayers does is to create a new thing that you don't have in that child. And what blessing does is to, the potential that God has put in that child, let it be activated. And that's what I'm seeing in him. Tomorrow he will tell me that he doesn't have enough competition, that cowbell milk mathematics has not even come. He has only Avogadro for chemistry competition. I said, and before I came here, he was doing basketball. I said, my time. He said he's coming. He wants to do everything at the same time. So now I'm seeing that potential. That hyperactivity is about the brain being a puzzle and then trying to fix it in its way. So I'm very grateful to be a mother and that I could tell my story and encourage somebody that you cannot manage autism, you can overcome it. Thank God and praise God.